I'm still really annoyed and frustrated about yesterday, and I think what really annoyed and frustrated me was the lack of fight from the Manchester United players. The fact that Newcastle just from the beginning, from the get-go, came out faster, harder, wanted it more. They dominated the midfield. They were more physical. They were winning the duels. And what makes it even more annoying is there was fight. There was fight off the pitch with Maguire, Bruno, Joelinton. We're going to talk about that. What went down? Where was that fight on the pitch? Where was the fight on the pitch yesterday? I didn't see much effort other than Bruno in the second half thinking, I've given away a penalty. I need to make up for this, creating chance after chance after chance. That, to be fair, Ramsdale, you've got to give him credit. He made some amazing saves, but despite the saves that Ramsdale made, I don't think we really deserve much. They had 10 men. They had 10 men, and you wouldn't have known it. If you'd have watched the second half, you would not have known they had 10 men if you didn't know they had 10 men. Don't know if that makes sense, but I didn't even think Newcastle had 10 men. I actually was like, oh yeah, they actually do have 10 men. That's how the second half went, and I am annoyed. I'm absolutely annoyed. I want to talk about this fight. I want to talk about some of the things that have gone on off the pitch after this game and all of that. But I will say this isn't a crisis. This is just one loss. We're bound to lose a game under Carrick. We were bound to lose a game under Carrick at some point. I think it's that this probably wasn't the game to lose. Did Newcastle deserve to win? Yes. But on paper, we shouldn't lose a game against Newcastle with 10 men without Bruno Guimaraes as well. They don't have their best player in Bruno Guimaraes. They've lost 3 in a row at home. They're in the worst form they've been in since the takeover. They had 10 men. We're going to lose a game under Carrick at some point. But this wasn't the kind of game we should be losing under Carrick. 10 men, no Bruno G, out of form. They beat us. And they beat us and they deserve to beat us. It wasn't a jammy win. Yes, Joelinton could have been sent off. You can say that. But Ramsey was sent off. Ramsey probably shouldn't have been sent off for a second yellow, and Joelinton probably should have been sent off for a second yellow. We deserve nothing. And I think, we're going to lose games under Carrick. That's going to happen. It's how we respond to that. This wasn't a game we should have lost. This was a game we should have done something in. So how are we going to respond to that? Because if we do go and lose another one, that's trouble. We've got 11 days and then we play Villa. We've got 11 days and then we play Villa. And the lack of intensity in this game was worrying. This team just doesn't look fit enough. It doesn't look like, I feel like the lack of intensity in games is worrying. We need to get fitter between games. Maybe we need a mid-season friendly. Who knows? But this is what wound me up about this game. This is what wound me up. Maguire ranted to Steve Holland as he walked off the pitch after a rollercoaster end to the first half. Just over Maguire's shoulder was Joelinton mouthing off, which led to arguments in the tunnel. There was big arguments with Joelinton, Bruno, Maguire in the tunnels. Yes, Joelinton should have been sent off, but look, Ramsey probably shouldn't have been sent off, so it kind of balanced out there. Bruno Fernandes and Joelinton exchanged words, and the pair had to be kept apart. Fernandes pointed the finger at the Newcastle enforcer, perhaps reminding him he was still lucky to even be on the pitch. So Bruno's having a bit of fight with Joelinton. Maguire's having a bit of fight with Joelinton. The players are keeping them apart. Apparently, there was a lot of arguments going on in the tunnel. There was a lot of fight. There was a lot of whinging. There was a lot of whining going on in the tunnel. Yeah. Guess what happens? We've got the one-man advantage. Casemiro's just scored, so somehow we've gone in at half-time 1-1. I don't know where the ref even found the added time from. But we somehow managed to go in at 1-1, despite being outplayed by Newcastle. And all of a sudden, we know it's 1-1 and we've got the extra man. 1-1, we have to play 45 minutes with the extra man. It should be going our way. Where was the fight? We did this big fight in the tunnel, and guess who comes out the better team? Newcastle. Guess it was the first 15 minutes of the second half. Newcastle looked more like scoring than us. Yeah, Newcastle came out the better team in the first 15 minutes of that second half. We did not come out. We did not show any fight. No fight whatsoever. We were being bullied in the middle of the park. Joelinton and Tonali were bullying us. Look, we know that Casemiro can't play 2 games a week. We know that Maino has, lacks the intensity sometimes. We need a physical midfield rebuild. Maino is a great talent. He's a great player for the future. I like Maino. I love Bruno. But we need 3 physical midfielders to come in to complement that. I look at Sandro Tonali. Sandro Tonali is absolutely running the show. Sandro Tonali and Joelinton were absolutely bossing the show. I think Joelinton was man of the match. Man United need a Sandro Tonali. Man United need a Matheus Fernandes, and Man United need a João Gomez. Man United need 3 players that are technically good, that are physically good, that are Premier League proven to bolster the midfield. A guy is not good enough. Casemiro needs to be replaced. We need an Elliot Anderson Tonali type player. We need a João Gomez type player as the guy replacement, and we need someone like Matheus Fernandes that can do it all and play 6, 8, someone young for the future. Because I tell you what, there was a lack of fight. There was a lack of energy. The most fight Man United showed was here. In the tunnel, Joelinton and Bruno and Maguire all shouting at each other. No fight on the pitch. Now, I'm not going to give Bruno a stick. I know he didn't have a good first half, but Bruno Fernandes was trying to do everything in the second half. But I think, yes, Newcastle are a good side. Yes, Newcastle deserve to win. But if you're 1-1 against Newcastle, who have 10 men and don't have their captain and Bruno Guimaraes, who are in the worst form they've ever been in, I know that we don't win at St James's Park, but you've at least got to come out of that with a draw. You cannot lose that. I said before the game I'd take a 1-1 draw. Then when Newcastle went down to 10 men and it was 1-1 at half time, I said we probably need to win this. We should have got 3 points, but we didn't get 3 points and we didn't deserve 3 points. And I'm annoyed about that. And as Liam Canning said here, big problem with United's midfielders when the opposition are physical and can run all game long. They struggle massively last night. Again, showed that versus Tonali and Joelinton. Need to make sure they get Champions League qualification and rebuild the midfield massively. We need three midfielders. We're losing 2, we need 3. We're already a midfielder short. We need 3 new midfielders that are physical, that can cover ground. You look at Declan Rice, the amount of ground he can cover. You look at Tonali, the amount of ground he can cover. You look at Anderson, the amount of ground he can cover. We need that. We don't have that. We don't have that. Maino and Casemiro are great, but in those physical battles when Tonali and Joelinton are going to make it physical, that's when we struggle. That is when we struggle. These are the kind of games we struggle in against these kind of midfields. Remember the Europa League? I don't know how we never signed a midfielder in the summer, but we were fine in the Europa League against all the teams abroad because we could win the midfield battle. But it was Tottenham that we couldn't win the midfield battle against because their midfield was more physical. And Tottenham are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. But when we come up against a physical midfield, and Tottenham's midfield is physical, we've always struggled. That's why we were lovely in the Europa League. Won every single game, Tottenham, boom, lost. Do you know what I mean? In the final. We struggle when we have to come up against a physical midfield. And it's an issue. Another issue we have is the ex-pros. Michael has definitely got something special about him because United have been crap last 4 games. Knight, Tonali, Hart. Look, I would love Tonali. He's an unbelievable player. Why are the ex-pros acting like this? Michael Carrick's done a great job. I'm not going to turn on Michael Carrick because he loses 1 game. Did he get it wrong? Yeah. Can managers make mistakes? Yeah. I watched Ruben Amorim make numerous mistakes time and time again for a year and a half, come 15th, lose to Spurs, lose to Grimsby. I can watch us lose to Newcastle and be frustrated and, as long as I see a response versus Villa. I don't think United have been amazing in the last 2 games, but we're getting the points. We're in 3rd place. We were nowhere near 3rd under Amorim. I know we were 6th at a point under Amorim, but I feel that Amorim wouldn't have won some of these games that Carrick has won. Carrick probably might not be the permanent manager. Carrick came in as the interim. It's not like these are Carrick signings. Carrick's had a 500 million spent and Carrick's been here 2 years. These are Amorim signings. There's not one single one of Carrick signings here and Carrick was appointed to be an interim. There's none of the signings are his. So, yeah, you could say, United haven't impressed me the last 2 games, but why are we going in on Carrick? Okay, Carrick got it wrong. Carrick made a mistake. Cool. He's not the permanent manager. He might not be the permanent manager. He's not got any signings. He's only been in the door and he's improved us compared to the last manager. We came 15th last season. We're now losing our mind because Carrick loses 1 game in 9. Oh, okay, that's 1 loss in 9. We used to lose about 6 in 9 last year. So I just think these ex-legends need to shut up. And I don't know if there's jealousy. Is Paul Scholes jealous that Michael Carrick's a better manager than him? That Michael Carrick's got the opportunity to manage Man United and not him? Oh my God, my mic keeps falling off. But why are these ex-Man United players that were teammates of Carrick so rude about Carrick? They weren't like this with Ollie. They were nice about it's almost like all of Carrick's ex-teammates wanting to fail. I just think that's weird. I thought they would get on. I thought they'd be friendly. I just think the criticism from the ex-pros of Carrick is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I think these ex-pros need to shut their mouth. I don't know if it's jealousy. He's Man United interim and not me. Is that why Roy Keane doesn't like him? Is that why Scholes doesn't like him? Of course you can be critical of Carrick, of course. But the reason I'm not very critical of Carrick is because I think, it's so much better than the manager before him. And he's not here on a permanent. He's not had money spent on him. He's just trying to do his best. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, look, I also look at it and think he had to bring on Malacia. He had to bring on Malacia, he had to bring on Agate, and he had to bring on Delo. Imagine if 3 of the subs you had to bring on were Malacia, Agate, and Delo. That tells you about the quality of the squad. We need 3 midfielders. I want one of Anderson or Tonali as the big one. I want Mateus Fernandes as the versatile one. I want João Gomez as the Agate replacement. We need a left winger. Give me Njai or maybe Kvaratskhelia Helia. We need an expansive left back, Nuno Mendes type left back, maybe Nathaniel Brown. We need at least 5 signings. Maybe 6, maybe 7, but I'd say at least 5. Let me know your thoughts down below, but I'm just annoyed with the lack of fight. See you next time. Bye.